What's up, everybody? Glenn, Red Dog Motorsports. All right, we are back out in the shop as always. Don't do much else, it seems like. At least it's either the shop or shop related. Yesterday we were working on the XJ right here, and we ran into motor mount problems. And we'll get into all that when we get back on the XJ. Right now, I got to start on the rat rod. Rat rod's on the schedule, and I can't stop doing what I'm doing with the XJ and some of these other rigs. I got to stay working on all of them. So next day, I've got to clear off the S10. Purchased this just for a couple $100, and we're going to strip the body off it. I'm going to use the frame for the rat rod. Kind of thinking I might keep the cab and do some kind of something with it. I don't know. The rest of it's going in the trash though. It's pretty beat up. Can't see that I'm going to use it. Maybe cut the bed out. I don't know. Depends how much work I've got. You can see there's lots of trash in here. So we'll clean up all the trash. The metal will go to the scrap yard. And then it's not much really left of the interior. There's a dash in it. Dash lights, I should say. But all the heater controls, all that stuff's gone. There's tail lights in it. The drive shaft, we'll use the drive shaft. But I was thinking that at least the cab and the seats might be able to be used for another rat rod somewhere. I don't know. You know, I'm not using the Jeepster frame. It's got a running motor and drivetrain, although it needs to be cleaned up, tightened up, seals, that kind of thing. Transmission needs to be gone through. It needs a new clutch. But it is a little V6. It does get right down the road, and I wouldn't mind using it for something. But at the same time, I also got a ton of projects, just way too many. So I need to kind of pick and choose. And I got to quit putting projects ahead of my sons. I digress though, I wander. What can I say? So right now, what we're gonna do, we're gonna get the tools out and we're gonna strip this down and basically just take the front clip off it. We are saving some stuff. I'd like to save the brake lines. There's no reason to replumb them all down the body if I can help it. Don't know that I'll use this master cylinder. I don't really want to use a vacuum booster. I'd like to use Hydro Boost, and I'd like to hide it. So that precludes having anything up here on a firewall. I don't need the heater stuff, although I could probably use the fan if it'll fit one of the other rigs. And I'm guessing it has AC too. Maybe I'll pull it out and take a look at using it. Who knows? This stuff's gonna be sitting around for a couple of days. The wiring harness, I definitely would like to use the wiring harness. While I don't need all of it, it would be nice to be able to have something that's basically ready-made, that has the headlight circuits in it. It has the fuse box in it, because the Jeepster doesn't have a fuse box. They didn't come from the factory with them that I can tell. Any one of the ones I've worked on haven't had one. They're just straight wired 12 volt, and that was that. If it got a short, guess it burned down. I don't know. Maybe if somebody comment and tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe I just haven't found it. At minimum, I would have expected to have the little round fuses, but I didn't see them. Yeah, right. But at any rate, having that wiring harness basically pre-made and not having to buy it would be good. I will have to cut the ends and redo the ends and stuff so that it fits the Jeepster, but that's not as hard as starting over completely from scratch. And just time-wise, if nothing else. Wiring's only really a cost when it comes to getting the ends. The wire itself's not super horrible in the big scheme of things. The tailgate's still half decent on this thing. Probably try to sell it. If I get 30 bucks for it, that would be good. The bumpers are gone. It's not much else. Maybe the rear end, although not the right lug pattern. But if I was to do anything with that old Jeepster frame, that rear end would be better probably than what's in it. But I don't know. The doors and all that stuff are gone. Springs might be good for something. But let's get it down to a rolling chassis and get going.
Went down to that river, washed my sins away. Praying, 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 praying for another day. I went down to that river.
Alright guys, let's catch everybody up on where I'm at, what I got done. So the frame, it is stripped down. I went ahead and got it pressure washed, as you saw in the time lapse, or will see in the time lapse. The rear axle is going to have to come out, but I need to leave it a roller for now. Front axle, or the front A-arms, all that will be done with airbags. Got lucky. We've got manual steering and the more desirable box with the 4 bolts in the top cover. A little bit different ratio. I managed to save the wiring harness. Don't believe I'll be using these brakes, but I'd like to be able to use the brake lines if at all possible. Fuel tank, I don't believe I'm going to be able to use it. I want to do a trailing arm setup, and I think that in relation to the rear axle is just going to end up being in the way. We'll wait and see though. I could be wrong. We may be able to figure it out, which is why I've left it for now. Because it'd be nice if I could use it, but if I can't, then I've got several other choices that are already here that we can use. I did save a couple other parts as well. I saved the seats for now. I don't know if I'm going to use them. I like the shape, I like the design. They need to be recovered. They're pretty grungy. If nothing else, I'll save the sliders, but they're not original to the S10. They were bolted in there, but only 3 of the bolt holes were right, and they weren't in their proper spots and stuff. So I'm assuming they came out of something else. Not sure what, but they were in there. For now, I've saved the heater stuff. I don't know if I can reuse it. It's there. It's mechanically operated, which makes it easy to use. But I can always refurbish the one that's in the Jeepster as well. I don't really want much more, you know, it would be nice to have a little bit of heat and defrost. Nothing more irritating than not having defrost, especially since when we go up there in late September, it might be kind of cold. I don't know, but at any rate, that's for another time. So got the rest of the harness. That's got the fuse box and all that in it. I did save the column. Not sure that I'll use it, but if I need it, it's here. And then I saved the pedals. They also, I've got some things that I may need off of them. And there was a pretty cool little muffler on here. Just a kind of race muffler. I won't use the duals out of it. I'll probably cut that off and cap one side of it. But hey, this budget, got to save money everywhere we can. That's really about it. Of course, I did save the drive shaft. It's over in the drive shaft pile. And one other cool thing, this came with some, they're not real expensive look ones, but came with some 350 motor mounts that are for bolting up to the S10 frame. So score, saved a couple of bucks there. Got me a couple of tools that were in it, and then some good wire. This is good for running from the alternator to the battery, that kind of thing. So kept it. This is the old computer. Won't be using it. I was hoping it was the same as the one that is on the 350 that I'm going to be using for this, but it's not. That drive shaft doesn't belong here, or it belongs to the XJ that we're working on. All right, but that's where we're at so far. I am going to get everything cleaned up. Going to get the frame moved into the building. And then I got to start looking at the next steps. We need to get the rear axle out from underneath the trailer it's under. And then we got to look at front suspension, motor, and transmission mount. We get that, then we'll work on the rear. The rear is going to be much simpler, I think, than the front. But I kind of need to get the body sitting on there so I know where that's at. and I need the motor in place before I can do that. Oops, that got dark. What happened? So we'll have to get on that. But first, let's get things moved around. We'll go from there. All right, guys, Glenn with Red Dog Motorsports. I am back out on the rat rod, the Tickle Pickle, and ordered up some parts which are marked very nicely. I won't show you what's below. It's just right now, it's just a box. I'll show you when I pull them out. But need to get started on the front suspension. It's taken me a bit. You know, my original plan with the Willis was to be four-wheel drive, and I bought parts with the intention of doing that until I determined that I couldn't use the Willis due to all the extensive body work it needed. So we bought the S10 frame. We're going to be airbagging it, so we're going to get a drop from that. But then I want to get as low as I can get. So we also bought some 2-inch drop spindles for the S10. So this is going to help us get even lower. My goal is to be about ride height at about 5 inches off the ground. That's where I want it to ride at. And then I don't know that it'll be able to drop all the way to the ground. I don't know that I can get the frame on it, but we'll try. We'll see. I've never built a air suspension before like this, so it'll be interesting to see how it works out. Oops, got it upside down. All right, so these have been recast. We will be doing all new ball joints and stuff on these. That's just part of safety equipment. I don't expect that to count towards my budget. These do though. I would expect these wouldn't typically be a maintenance item, I mean, they could be considered safety, I guess, but since they're lower in the vehicle, I'm going to count them towards my cost. They're a little less than 200 bucks. So we're going to work on getting these installed today. I've got to get this other side. I've got the left side's been pulled apart, although I haven't removed the hub and any of that, but I at least have it drop down into place. So I'm going to work on getting the other side taken apart, and then we'll work on getting these installed.
Wash my sins for free. The devil's on the other bank, staring back at me. I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man. Another nail in my coffin, another nail for me. I gotta look pretty when I go down. Another nail in my coffin, can't you spare one more? I gotta look pretty when I'm knocking down heaven's door. I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man. I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man. Light my cigarette. You ever seen a dead man talking? No, you haven't seen one yet. I'm a dead man walking. 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 I'm a dead man. wash my sins for free. No one seemed to notice as I stared. I went down to that river to wash my sins away. I was thinking of you in that wedding gown. I went down to that water to wash my sins away. The world faded away as I went down, 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 down. The dead man.
Okay. Looks like I lost a little bit of the time lapse to battery issues. My apologies there. But at any rate, at this point, I've got both the left and the right spindle on, but I'm out of time. However, as you can see, we're getting down here. I got to sit on the floor to keep the frame in the shot. And so we're not very high off there right now, about 5 inches. Pretty sure this is getting pretty close to being how far it's going to be down, slammed out. Just in looking at things, it might be a little bit lower. We're going to see once I can get a moment. I'll get out here, we'll put the spindles on it, put the tires back on it, and slam it down the rest of the way on its bumps and see where we're at. I did measure inside internally, and my intention, my airbags compress down to 4 inches is their maximum, and then there's 8 inches inside there, so subtracting out 1/4 inch plates to mount on either side of the bags, it looks like I'm going to need 1 3/4 inch spacers, which I'm intending to use some 4 inch either quarter wall or 3/16 wall pipe. I got to find a piece, but that's my intention. And then you through the top, I believe you do a bolt, and then through the bottom you do a strap and some double bolts, and that holds it all in place, much like the stock spring would have been held in. So that's my intention for how to do that. That way I can also put a little bit of an angle on the bottom of the bag to get it aligned with where the top hits, all of that good stuff, so we can keep the bags nice and straight. But that's all going to be another video. For today, I'm going to sign out until we can get back at this hopefully tomorrow. Have a good one. We'll talk at you later. What's up, guys? Glenn with Red Dog Motorsports. Today we're working on the rat rod over at my buddy's shop, over the top off-road, getting some stuff cut out, airbag mount specifically. Managed to pick up some other parts too while we're at it. Got my boy Ronan with me, but we also picked up some other goodies, some chain, some interesting gears, a couple other parts. I got me a 6-pinion planetary for some off-road stuff.
We could have gotten
cam.
2 of them.
It's fun little stuff. Lord only knows where they'll end up on the rat rod, but they'll make it. All right, we're off to see the wizard. We'll catch you on the next one.
Walking, I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man. I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man. I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man walking. I'm a dead man.
All right, another day in the shop, and we are working on front suspension still. I have basically got everything together so that we can get airbags, so that we can get the airbags into the front end. Let me show you what I got together so far. I'm gonna drop you down here a little bit so you can see the table. Okay, so my initial thought in trying to stay within the budget was to use the springs, and what I did was I cut the springs, I cut the rounds, and then I welded them together. But springs tend to be very hard to weld, and the process of the heat treat, of getting them heated up to the point that they would weld correctly, and everything else while I managed it, I decided that the cost versus risk factor just wasn't worth it. I don't have a way to test these to ensure that they're not going to eventually crack. They have a very high carbon content, and the welding creates some porosity and weakness here on the edges of the weld. And while you can get past it with proper heat treatment, I just don't feel like I was able to do that. This did come out pretty well. It wasn't a failure, but I don't trust it. So it's out. That being said, I did have to buy some pipe, and I've cut it into 2-inch sections. I've got 4 of them. As you can see, I'll insert. We went to my buddy's shop, and he cut me these rounds at 4 3/4. And those are going to go on top of the 2-inch rounds. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to make a template using this part of the airbag so that we can cut all of our holes similar to how these are. These are just protection plates. I need mounting plates. So we're going to get these style holes in these. Now I could transfer these to that, but I need to figure out the center of this and the center of that and then do it. And it's just going to be easier to use some paper to get all the centering and stuff like that. But I've got 4 plates, and then I've got a couple of straps. These are going to go down inside here. These will get a couple of holes drilled. These will mount to the lower shock mount in the lower A-arm of the S10. So I need 2 of those. And these bolts, these are 5/8 bolts. I'm not positive that they're long enough. They're just what I had laying around. These are going to get welded to the, it'll be like this. They'll get welded in there, and this will protrude through the upper frame mount, and then a bolt will get placed on it, and it will retain the upper end of the airbag. Sorry, I'm trying to think and move at the same time. It doesn't work out well. So, and then I've got 8 bolts that thread into here. These, I believe, were actually differential, or not differential, ring gear mounting bolts off of, I think it was a Toyota. But at any rate, they were in my bolt bin. They're the right thread pattern and the right length. So, works out great. So far, very little cost. I had the steel laying around, and then I had to pay $75 for my tubing. Would have liked to have gotten it locally, but everybody wanted, I think it was $150 minimum order, and I just didn't have a $150 minimum order, so I had to order it online. Actually, I wonder if I have to count shipping, because shipping was half of the price of the material. All right, so some paper, some crayon, and then I need a center point. Doesn't really matter where I start. I just need to make a center point. Oops. Just need to make a center point in here that I can then poke this through and find the center point on the airbag. Then I can just hold it in place and just rub it. You guys, if you've watched my series on the XJ, you saw me do this to get the pattern for the shifter. It's an easy way to do it. Works pretty good. It's not perfect. Oh, look, we're a little bit off. All right, but at any rate, that gives us our centers. All right. Now, I need to get a center on here, on this plate, and then we'll do it for all the rest of them. And then we'll go over the drill and drill some holes. And in order to get the center on that, Oops, where's my... There's lots of different ways to do this. One of the ways I like doing it is to take my compass, like so. My machinist rule. I know that this is 4 3/4, mainly because that's what we cut it on the plasma table. So 4 3/4, half of that is 2 3/8. So if you set this up right at, oops, 2 3/8, then I can just set it right on the edge and make a mark. If I come over here, do the same thing. Just basically, if you do like 3 locations, you can do 4, doesn't matter. But where they intersect, you can probably barely see it. Where they intersect is the center of the circle. And then I can just take this to the center of that, which was off, in my original hole. Line it up with the center, like so. And now I can center punch these, and away we go. Uh-oh, where's my center punch? There it is. Now I'm using the old eyeball method for the center. Much like if you use a rifle sight or something, your eye will automatically find the center. Or at least close enough for this work. I could measure and do all of that, but this will work. All right, I'm gonna go drill the holes and then I'll come back to you. All right, so got all of them cut. 2 of them got 3 holes and 2 of them only got 2. The third hole in these is for the air fitting, and then the 2 bolt holes here and here bolt them to the bags. So let me show you how the stack up works. So this, with this inside, it'll lay flat. There will be a plate. These are going to be welded. Obviously this will be welded to this piece inside. This gets bolted to the A-arm, lower A-arm, airbag, 3-piece top plate. Hold on, let me move you. I don't have you high enough, sorry. There you go. Then it'll be the 3-piece, goes on, lines up with that one. The other spacer. I guess I should put the protectors in there. They're not necessary, but, and then this bolt. So that's the stack up. That forms my spring for the front. Full compression is like that at about 8 inches, just under 8 inches. And then full ride height is about what the original spring was. I already threw it away. But, so, that being said, let me get all of this welded and tacked together so that we can bolt it together. I'm not going to tack this in yet. And I still have to measure and get the bolt holes drilled in this. But for now, let me get these welded to these. We're just going to tack them for now. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself in case I need to move things. And these may need to be angled I haven't determined that yet. All right, let me get that done. All right, put the old brakes on. I almost screwed up big time. Had I went and started tack welding all of that together, I would have missed what I needed to do on the rig first. As I kept mentioning, these plates are what locate the lower bucket or mounting bucket or whatever you want to call it. I've never built one of these suspensions before. I typically don't work with A-arm suspension other than in stock form. Everything I've done previously has been off-road stuff. Way different. Never even done an airbag suspension. So one, I'm going against what my roots are. I'm going down instead of up. And we're having to do some different things. But anyway, I need to make sure I know where these get bolted in and how that bucket is going to fit around it, because this has to be welded in first before that top plate goes on, or I won't have access to it. So let's get this done. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to pull the wheel off, and then, which I've got it almost jacked up. Have to jack it up a little bit more. We're going to pull the wheel off, then we'll pull the A-arms apart. Everything's just loosely bolted together right now. And then I can get inside to the lower A-arm and determine where this is going to fit. We'll get the holes drilled, marked, all that good stuff. So let me get to that. All right, guys. So lower A-arm, this is where the spring normally goes, the spring pocket right here. And then the shock normally runs right up through the center and from below, and it gets bolted to this location. So I've drilled this holding plate or whatever, and now this is going to go. I've got to get it lined up. I'm going to mark it, and then we'll cut it so it'll fit inside there, so that this will sit down over that spring pocket, and then we'll get all the rest of the plates bolted up. I think that I will eventually weld these so I don't have to try to reach up and hold them. Either do the nuts. It would be easier if I did the nuts than it would be if I did the bolts. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But one way or the other, I'm going to make those captured so that I don't have to hold them with the wrench while I bolt them on. So let's get it done. Do over. Had the music playing. All right. So now that I don't have copyrighted music playing, you can see I got it in place. Pretty nice fit. Now I just have to tack weld everything into place, and then we'll get the top plate on it. And then I got to make sure to get all my alignments correct. Otherwise I could have a problem. But let's go finish it up. I got to do the other side as well. I'm building them both at the same time, obviously. And then we'll get moving. Okay. So as I mentioned before, I was a little concerned that I would not be level at ride height, which is basically where I'm sitting. We're on the passenger side. And as you can see, the bag bottom's level here. We look good all the way up inside and everything. But down here, we're really pinched over on the inside. And I'm concerned that just the action of it riding is eventually going to wear a hole in it. And that'd be no bueno. Could cause some catastrophic failure. So what I'm going to have to do is either make a new bottom one or cut off from this one. I'm going to try cutting it first, and then if I got to make new ones, I will. But at this point, this plate is not welded to this one, so it's easy enough to make new ones. Something like that. Or maybe I will just cut new ones and figure out the angle. Basically though, it's about 5/8 of an inch that I need to change. So in that case, I could make one side longer and the other side just a little bit shorter and fix all that up. I would need to remake the tabs going across, my locating tabs, because I got excited. I welded them all the way in, but such is life. But let me take a look at that, and then I'll figure out whether we're remaking them or just cutting them down. All right, guys, holding you by my hand, so might be a little shaky, but so when I left you, I was having trouble getting the airbag level, and I was going to cut 5/8 off and see if that didn't level it. It didn't do it. I'll show you what I mean. So I've got this one in here, and you can see it really didn't even make much of a difference. So I got to thinking about it, and I fixed it. I solved it. So you can see I got this one sitting level, and what I did is I just cut the spring perch out the bottom, and then just ran my bracket up from through. I'm gonna weld it in place. Not at the moment. I've got to finish weld the bottom plate for the airbag. Once that's finish welded and in the right orientation, then I can finish weld the part in the bottom. And then the bolts will just, for the airbag, will be accessible from the bottom of the AR. So everything's still going to work the same, just a little different methodology from what I originally planned. Now, I've never done this, so if you know a better way, of course, it'll be too late by the time you get a chance, but comment, tell me. I'm always willing to learn. You know, there's lots of different ways to do this. Some are better than others. I think for this, it's going to be plenty strong. I won't have to worry about it. I'll weld it both sides. No different than any other suspension brackets that are on my buggy, and that goes through way more than this thing will ever see. That being said, let's get the other side cut out. I do need to go get the bolts. I need to get them marked. I need to figure out where they're going. I got the length, but the upper ones, the upper locating bolts, I need those so that I can make sure that everything fits up in there. But once I can get all this done, then I'll rebuild the A-arms. I've got new ball joints and bushings, all that. We got new rotors, calipers, all the good stuff. But we're going to be able to finish this up now and get things to where they're sitting at height and bump. Oh, I take that back. I got one more thing to do. Probably need to do it sooner than later now that I've got this figured out. This section right here is hitting, and I think I can get at least an inch lower if I take this down and then weld in a piece of flat plate and get rid of this hump. I don't think it'll weaken it. I may need to brace it underneath or something. It really shouldn't matter. I am going to be replacing it. We're not going to leave it, but I need to cut that out and then weld in a piece of flat plate so I can get this thing all the way down to the ground. So let's get to it. Alright everybody, told you, it's going to end this video with some working suspension. Now, nothing is final bolted in. I've got a little more clearancing to do. The A-arms in the front are hitting the frame. I need to open that opening up a little bit more. There's another location I was thinking I needed to do a little clearancing on the frame itself. But for right now, everything works. Oh, it was the back side of the spring pockets. I need to open them up a little bit and just make sure I'm not going to hit the bags at all. They don't hit at all when they're sitting and riding like they are, but when I compress them fully, they get really close, and I'm concerned that repeated going down, if they just continually rub maybe a year from now or something like that, I could end up with them putting a hole in my bags. Oh look, I got a flat tire. We are going to go with a lower profile tire, so that's going to get me down a little bit lower. But for right now, I'm pretty close. Let's see here. So I'm down to about 1.5 inches. Once I clearance out the edges, I think I can gain the remainder of the distance, and we'll get this thing to hit frame all the way down. My goal is to have this skid plate touching. Obviously with the weight of a motor and body and everything like that, it's going to be a little easier to get it down. I still get pretty close with some weight. But I can't make it touch. So that being said, I will work on getting that rest of that done. I can show you, I've still got some more room. Let me bring around the other side. I'll show you what I'm talking about on the back side, how much room I still have to go before I'm hitting. All right, so you can see there, I still got a good inch or so before I hit frame to A-arm. And the location that I need to clearance is right there. So I'm hitting there, but if I open that up a little bit, I'll be able to clearance out the rest of it, and we'll get all the way down. Think a lower profile tire. I'll be close, but we gotta have goals, right? Gotta have goals. Otherwise, not a big deal. If I ain't touching, so be it. It's my first one. But with that, I'm gonna close out this video. Appreciate you hanging along, and hopefully you tune in for the rest of the series as we continue building the rat rod called Tickle Pickle. We'll see you soon.